All right, and we now welcome in two-time national champion and Hall of Famer. He is the head coach of Kansas. He is Bill Self on Inside College Basketball now with Jon Rothstein. And Bill, welcome. I remember a couple of years ago, you got big kudos at home because you got that box in KC during the summer for that Garth Brooks concert with your entire family. I'm curious, what are the Selfs doing in the summer of 2025?
We haven't done much of anything. I guess the male leader of the household has been in the office 15 hours a day trying to complete a roster, but which we finally, at least I hope, just did. But it's been an eventful, kind of a stressful summer, to be honest with you. In today's world, I envy the guys that got everything done in the portal in the first 2 or 3 weeks, and maybe they can play golf. And we haven't had a chance to do much of that yet, but now we can moving forward.
Well, that brings me to my next question. What is it like being a head coach in this climate during the summer months?
You know what? I think there's some advantages. One advantage could be that summer recruiting is important, but it may not carry the same importance as it has, pre portal and NIL, because you're going to recruit so many kids out of the portal. But it also creates a situation until your roster's complete. You're working until your roster's complete, where in the past, basically after the spring signing period, you're basically done with recruiting the next year's team until after the school year starts. So there's some give and take, but for the most part, I think it's kind of been re-energizing. I think I don't know if I call it fun, but trying to master something that you basically don't know how to master just yet, and trying to figure out, it's kind of been a challenge, but it's been fun, and trying to figure out how to stay even or stay ahead of the game.
How do you balance as a coach trying to build a program, the term that people used to use, versus building the best team you can on an annual basis?
I would say winning today sells tomorrow. So if you win today, you can sell culture. If you win today, you can sell history more. You can do a lot of things better if you win today. So in the past, hey, you recruit a point guard and you say, you know what? You come in here, Sharon's a sophomore. You come in here and you learn how to play for 2 years, and we'll give the ball to you. You have the keys to the car your last 2 years. You tell somebody that now, and even a for sure backup will tell you to go fly a kite, because everybody wants immediate opportunities. So, and with the portal, guys are going to leave if things don't work out as well as what they'd hoped. So you can still have culture, you can still have a program, you can still do things, but it helps if you win today in order to sell that.
So then, as you're looking at the blueprint for building Kansas year to year, how do you then balance the amount of high school prospects that you're recruiting versus the amount of transfers you're going to take versus now maybe the amount of foreign players you're going to take?
Yeah, I think it's year to year, month to month, week to week, day to day. I don't know how to answer that. This year on our team now, we return one player that played a minute last year, and that's Flory. At a place where historically, I would say over my first 19 years, 18 years, maybe had 10 players leave total. And now you have, 7 or 8 leave in 1 year, which was fine with us because it may be better for them too. But the reality of it is, I don't know how it works. You go out and recruit. The other thing is with the rev share settlement, do people really buy in to that actually being how it's going to be? Everybody's saying, well, that's the way it is, but wait till the first lawsuit.
Right.
And will still be that way after the lawsuit. So you don't even know how much money you have. You may know what your rev share agreement is within your own university, but you don't know how much real NIL is really possible based on how the commission views these things and values these things. You really don't know. So to go out and recruit, let's say, 2 high school kids that are both top 10 players in the country, that some schools could historically get 2. Some schools historically maybe get 3 top 10 guys, but not knowing what percentage of the budget you'd have to pay to get the one. Do you have enough money to actually pay a second? There's a lot of things going on that in my opinion, that's very unknown. So right now, recruit them all and then try to figure it out later.
Well, there's straight chaos, obviously, leading up to the court in college basketball right now. But the games themselves, because players are able to stay for longer periods of time and don't have to go pro, are as compelling as they've been in a really, really long time in terms of the on-court product. As you've reflected, why do you think your team the last 2 years has not been vintage Kansas?
Well, we by our standards, we've labored the last 2 years. The year before, we were probably going to be a 2 seed in the tournament, and then we had a first team All-American go down. Kevin McCullough was going to make All-American, and he goes down and misses the rest of the season, and we fell probably from a 2 to a 4, something like that. But this past year, we weren't vintage. We were a 7 seed. We didn't play near as athletic as you need to play. We were really good when things fell right. It's just, things had to fall perfect for us to be really, really good like that. So I think athleticism, I obviously think depth played a role. There were some different things. I think through our recruiting this spring, we've addressed a lot of needs. Now, whether or not we'll shoot it well enough, whether or not we'll handle it well enough, but you look at our team now, we're going to be, 6'5" at the guard spots. We're going to be far more athletic. We'll have more depth. We're going to be able to do some things defensively we haven't been able to do. So I'm excited about that. It's going to look like a vintage Kansas team athletically. Now, whether we can play to that through our skills remains to be seen, but I'm excited about that.
Bill, you won your second national title in 2022. You weren't able to coach due to health reasons in 2023. The team was a 1 seed, though, in that NCAA tournament. And then we just referenced the last 2 years. So Kansas has not been to the second weekend of the tournament since you won it all in 2022. I'm curious, from your perspective, for somebody who's had so much success, what has it been like just simply having to watch the latter parts of the NCAA tournament and not participate?
Well, my first year that I got sick, I wanted to coach. There's no way I could have. I probably watched that tournament more because, hell, I didn't have anything else to do. All I did was lay in a bed. The last 2, I'll be honest with you, I probably lost more interest in the tournament because we were not participating, and I was probably more pissed that we weren't participating. So it's hard for me to watch just from an entertainment standpoint. We've done some good things here over time, but the last 2 years have certainly been a disappointment in the tournament, so to speak. So yeah, we know we got to do better, and I know I got to do better, and I think we will. And hopefully, we've recruited a team that puts us in a position to do better. But from a flip side standpoint, that's what should motivate us and motivate me, and it does. But we've had a rough last 2 years, and we were a 4 seed and a 7 seed. We've had 21 years where the worst seed we were was a 4 seed in the NCAA tournament. So people deal with this, but we just haven't had to deal with it. But we are, and I know this. I don't like it, and I don't think people around here like it. So we've got to change it, and we will.
From 2004-05 to 2018, you were part of one of the great streaks in the history of college athletics, winning at least a share of the Big 12 regular season title. How does the pressure of trying to maintain a streak like that compare to the pressure and the challenge of what you're going through now in trying to get Kansas back to being vintage Kansas?
Well, we won the league 14 years in a row. in arguably the most consistent and best league in the country during that time frame. Arguably, everything's cyclical. Some years, leagues are better than others, and when you look at last year, there is absolutely no doubt that the SEC was by far and away the best league in America. But I think there's more pressure to actually have success postseason, because I don't think people really look at the conference as being the tell-all like they used to be, because there's so many teams in the conferences. There's you could look at the SEC last year, and if you finish in the top 5 in the league, you got a legitimate chance to be a Final Four and win a national championship.
Right.
When we were always going through it with our league, it was like, hey, if you're the best in this competitive league, you're going to have the chance to play for the highest of stakes. Now, 5 or 6 teams may have a chance to play for the highest of stakes out of your league. So I think there's emphasis on the league. Don't get me wrong. And yes, we want to win the league. That's a goal each and every year. But I think the emphasis have kind of switched a little bit. It's always been the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're the best team in your league, you're going to be a top 3 seed, top 2 seed in the tournament, which gives you the best chance to have success in the tournament. So let's take care of business first to put us in a situation to have the most success percentage-wise. Now it's like, well, you know what? We finished 3rd. We finished 5th. We finished 1st. Does it really have the same impact as making sure we get to the second weekend and putting ourselves in a position to play for the highest of stakes? And I just think it's different. There's some teams in our league last year that finished, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and you know what? They have a chance to play for it all. Texas Tech was a possession away, if I'm not mistaken, to going to the Final Four. BYU had a great run and came up short. You look at that, and of course what Houston's done, and Iowa State's been so consistent, and Arizona was right there. It's just a different time. Teams that get hot at the right time are the teams that have the best chance to advance. And sometimes winning a lead doesn't necessarily mean you're right at the right time.
Well, you referenced 3 teams, Houston, BYU, and Texas Tech, who all went to the second weekend last year of the NCAA tournament. They are still new additions to the Big 12 because they joined the conference a couple of years ago. Has the additions of those programs, who have all played deep in the March Madness in the last year, made navigating the Big 12 that much harder?
I think it's, navigating, I guess, navigating, competing in the Big 12 would be another term. Yeah, I think it has. Our league's gotten better. Adding those teams plus the others, our league's gotten better. And there's no doubt about that. Now, I will say this, with the additions in other leagues, I'm sure they've gotten better too. But ours positively is better when you add teams that are committed. I mean, committed in all levels to having a basketball program that has the potential to get to a Final Four. It is different when you're competing against 7 or 8 of them with that type of administrative commitment than when you're competing against 3 or 4. And there's certainly been some great adds into our league.
All right, well, let's get into the Kansas Jayhawks now. You've referenced, obviously, some of the physical attributes that you're going to put on the floor this year, but your initial impressions of the roster you put together?
It's too early to say positively, hey, they're competitive, they work hard, they like each other, extremely athletic, good size, depth. And I talked about all the things that are visual and didn't say one thing about intangibles. So except that they like each other. Are we tough enough? Will we get back to grinding and guarding like our best teams have over time? We have a great player. I mean, we've got a great player. Probably as good a player that I've ever coached, and the best freshman I've ever recruited. Can he raise the other guy's level? Will our other guys learn how to play with him? That kind of stuff. remains to be seen. But certainly I'm excited about trying to figure it out. It's a good group.
Well, the player you're referencing is Darryn Peterson, who's going to come to Kansas with high accolades. And again, you're a coach who brought in as a freshman Andrew Wiggins and Josh Jackson, just to name a few. If there was one player, past or present, that Darryn Peterson most reminded Bill Self of, who would it be?
I would think as a freshman coming in with the ability to put a team on his back. I'll be honest, I don't know that I've had one.
Wow.
We didn't ask Wiggs to do that as a freshman. Embiid didn't do that as a freshman. Josh had Frank Mason and Devontae Graham, didn't ask to do as a freshman. With this particular roster, let's just call it like it is. Darryn needs to be the guy. And if he's that guy, then he'll put up numbers that are as good as anybody we've had here. But the bottom line is those other guys around him need to develop so he can not have to be the guy all the time. Because if Flory keeps developing, Bryson Tiller, Melvin Council, Cole Rosario, Jaden Dawson, if Trey White, if those guys keep developing, then he won't have so much pressure on him to perform. But I haven't been around anybody that's more prepared to be a college freshman that can carry the load more so than what Darryn can.
Well, you mentioned Flory Badunga, who obviously showed flashes last year as a freshman. What could happen in terms of a spike for his role in production now that he is a primary front court guy, not playing alongside Hunter Dickinson?
And basically backing up Hunter. They play together some, but basically backing up. He's an athlete. He's got length. He can still develop, obviously, scoring the ball, but he can do some things you can't coach from an athletic standpoint. His skills gotten so much better, but he needs to be an all-league player. Let's call it like it is. We don't need to be a one-man show here. We need to have multiple guys that can carry the water, so to speak, and he needs to be one of those guys, and he will. He's gotten so much better, and his confidence level soaring since last year. But it's been my experience, most of the big jumps on kids come between their freshman and sophomore year.
No doubt. Because
they're trying to figure it out as a freshman, and then they kind of figure it out, and then they can kind of play instead of think. And last year he was probably doing the thinking instead of playing a lot more. And when you do that, you neutralize your own athletic ability. And so I think he'll be better in that area.
Bill, I remember texting with you when you guys a couple of years ago got the commitment from Elmar Jackson. You were so excited because you loved him as a prospect. He's somebody who missed last season, due to a knee injury. Where is he at now in terms of being full go, and what type of a role do you expect him to have, once he gets to 100%?
Oh, he's going to compete for a starting position. There's no doubt about that. He is he's 100% athletically. Now, granted, he didn't play ball for 13 months. Right. So is his timing good? Does he make good decisions all the time? No. But is he the quick step, explosive athlete that he was when we recruited him? Yes. So he'll be a better player this next year than he was as a freshman, no doubt, because he was able to work on some things during a time where he couldn't play, things that he needed to become a better shooter. His technique needed to improve, and he spent countless hours working on that on his own. And so I'm excited about it. He has a real chance, and he's the type of guy that can do so many things athletically that can take pressure off of Darryn to do those things athletically. I mean, he should be able to pick the ball up 94 feet and guard end to end as well as anybody in the country. So we're excited about it.
So he's full go and cleared.
He's full go. Everybody on our team is full go. Tiller's full go. So we had, those guys obviously missed last year, but yeah, those guys are ready to go.
All right, Bill, in 2021, you received a lifetime contract to be the head coach at Kansas. So I'm not going to do the cookie cutter question here and say how much longer do you want to coach, but I asked Jay Wright this years ago. I asked Tom Izzo this in the past. So I'm going to ask you this now. Whenever you're done coaching, is it important to you that your successor has ties to Kansas?
you know what I hope we hire the best guy that gives Kansas the best chance to have the best basketball future moving forward. Would I love for that guy to be one of my guys? Absolutely. Or have ties to Kansas? Absolutely. In a perfect world, yes. The answer is an emphatic yes. But at the end of the day, you know what I would probably hope, if that guy has ties, fantastic. If he doesn't have ties, go get the best guy that can, take this program, hopefully even to another level. I think that's the goal that we have. I can certainly see keep it in the family, so to speak, but the reality of it is, you don't do that at the expense of taking a step backwards.
Right.
And right now, I think I got a guy or two on my staff that would be fantastic, but timing's everything. And they could have kept it in the family whenever Roy left.
Right.
And I don't want to speak for others, but from my vantage point, it's worked out decent. I don't. And you look at others that keep it in the family, and it's worked out great. And you look at scenarios where it doesn't work out great both ways. So I don't know that you can say positively what needs to happen before you actually know the situation and the candidates that could potentially be involved.
You referenced you have some guys on your staff who could be great down the road. One of them is obviously Jacques Vaughn, who was a great player in the 90s at Kansas. Is he somebody that you view as somebody who could be a potential successor down the road?
Oh, I guess so. Yeah. And I'd say Jeremy Case for sure. Jeremy's been in the business a while and been with me, and he's been fantastic. And it's great to have. I've got an ex-player, Chase Buford, that's with me. I got an ex-player, Brendan Bouchard, that's with me. Now, granted, Chase and Brennan probably won't be in a position to do that, but maybe the other two could be in position to be candidates. I don't know, but the thing I would tell you is Jeremy has been unbelievable and basically carried us through this portal season and all that stuff. And then you get a chance to hire a guy who's been a 3-time NBA head coach and been in the league for 12 years as a player. I mean, those are things that obviously mean something, but we say that this is how we want it to be, but you don't even know how much guys will actually enjoy the college experience after being at the NBA level and things like that. So there's a lot of unknowns out there. I guess people will talk about my successor maybe because they want it to happen sooner rather than later. But the bottom line is I plan on doing this. I feel good, and I plan on doing this a while. So we'll see how that all plays out.
Well, everybody has a different timeline, right? Jay Wright decided at 60 he'd want to do it. Mike Krzyzewski went till he was 75, and they made the Final Four where you guys were when you won it all in 2022. Do you see yourself as somebody who could be coaching into his 70s?
No. Did I say that fast enough? No.
Yeah.
No, I don't see that at all. But I also don't see it a situation where I have a definite timeline and shutting it down. But I think that I would have now, do I think that I could possibly do it if health stays good? Yeah, I think I could, but I think now the thing about it is, there are things that, you watch Scotty Scheffler win the British Open yesterday, and everybody made such a big deal about his press conference and what was really important to him and that kind of stuff. And, to me, he handled it perfectly, beautifully, but people questioned that how can you not be more committed to the game than you actually are? How can it not bring you more joy than what you're saying it does? And I do think this. I do think that a big part of happiness in my family is winning.
Mm-hmm. Winning is obviously something that always makes everybody happy. No doubt about that.
But it doesn't necessarily define that you have to do it to be happy. I think that as long as you're enjoying it, and your family's good with it, then it's great. Now, if there's something that said the family could not be as good with it, that would obviously play a role in decision. But that's not the case with us right now. But this is what I would say, John. As long as we're at the same competitive level and you're having as much success and consistent success as what you've had in the past, then you're not letting some young guy come in here and dominate and kick your butt. As long as you can be competitive with that, then why wouldn't you keep doing it? Yeah. But the thing about it is, being competitive today is different than being competitive in the past, because people outside of your control are making decisions on how competitive you can be.
Well, I wonder too, I know that your mission now is to get Kansas back to being a force in the top 10 and a high seed in the NCAA tournament. How important is it to you that when you leave, and it can be 5, 10, 15 years from now, whenever you decide, you're going to decide when you want to retire, how important is it to you that Kansas is in a spot where it's still at the top of college basketball?
I think that's important. That's obviously something that everybody would want to do. But let me ask you this. Stock market's been pretty good lately. On a bad year, you earn 4%. On a good year, you earn 11%. Sometimes you got to minimize your downside and with certain things and it's not always just about maximizing your upside, because there's some times where upsides are hard. Every business goes through that. You don't see any businesses that over a 22-year period that doesn't have some ebbs and flows to it. And just so happens right now we're probably going through the biggest time of ebbs and flows in my career here. But your question is fair. But I'll be honest with you. I'm as competitive as anybody, and I want to win at the highest level as much as anybody. And nobody knows team ceilings as well as actual coaches know their ceilings. And it's my job to get my team to compete and get against their ceiling. And I don't feel like we've done that the last 2 years, but I'm confident that we'll get back to that. So is it important that we be a top 5? Let's just call it like it is. We were in the top 25 for every week since 2009.
Yep.
Up until this past year, except for 1 week. I think there's 1 week. I mean, so yeah, we've been we've had a pretty good run, and now granted, do we have to get back to that and surpass it? Hell yes. But I don't feel like that's going to define my retirement, whether or not we finish my last year at that level. But I certainly anticipate doing that.
Bill, I asked this question to coaches now because I'm fascinated in doing this now 20 years that you guys remember your tough losses 20 times more than your great wins in every conversation with any coach. They always say that. And it's hard to ask somebody this who's won 2 national titles and been to a Final Four, but other than winning the national title in 2008 and 2022, give me another great win that really resonates with you as a coach, and give me a tough loss that you still think about from time to time.
I think when we played Duke in the Elite 8 and 18.
Yeah.
I mean, big boy game.
Yeah.
They got pros, and 1 and 2 seeds going against each other, 1 possession game, and winning that game would probably rank up as the biggest wins. I'll tell you another big win for me personally and for our program was in 2008 when we played Carolina in the Final Four, because Roy's legacy was still existing, and it should forever. But, we had a chance to play Carolina, and that one game was going to probably define where we were as a program as much as any. In Carolina, they had pros, and my team played unbelievable, and ended up kind of spearheading us, to the championship game and winning it the next game. But those games are great. Beating Oklahoma in a 3 overtime game here. Yeah. That was probably, I'm not exaggerating, maybe as good a basketball game we've seen in a decade. It was unbelievable. But he goes for 46, and my guys played. I believe it was great. Going against Durant, those 2 times was. Kevin had us down. We were behind 32-10, and Kevin had us down 22-10 himself. And coming back and winning those games, those were great. But there's also, gosh dang, we had the loss against Oregon and the loss against VCU. To me, would stand out as being the toughest that we've had. Oregon was terrific. They had a loaded roster and everything, but we were playing in Kansas City. Yeah. So it was a home game, and we didn't take advantage of it. And then, of course, VCU game, when they beat us in the Elite Eight, when we had not a good team, we had a fabulous team. And we laid an egg, and they dominated us and beat us by 10 or whatever in that game. So there's been some tough ones. But I will say this, and this has happened to me a lot. Sweet 16 games are hard games to lose.
Yeah.
But you got to the second weekend, and you were a center point of the tournament. To me, the tournament doesn't really start from an intention standpoint to the second weekend.
Sure.
68 teams getting recognition, 32 teams getting, but you get that second weekend. Now it's focused on those teams.
Yep.
But, you lose in the Final Four first round. It's awful. Freaking awful.
Yeah.
You lose in the championship game. They're awful.
Yeah.
But in the players' minds, at least you're competing for a national championship. At least you got to a Final Four. But the toughest losses are the Elite Eights.
Yeah.
Because everybody is being everybody's hearing, and the tournament is being marketed the whole year, road to the Final Four.
Yeah.
So when you lose that game that goes into the Final Four, it's like, oh my God, we were so close. Well, you weren't so close. You were still 3 wins away from a national championship. Right. But it's that game that to me is the hardest one in the tournament, at least in my experiences, not to win. And that's happened to us, obviously too many times.
Now, I can hear, Bill, in your voice, the passion that you have to coach, and obviously the passion you talk about these deep runs in the NCAA tournament. So let's end it on this. How do you get this team in 25-26 to reflect being vintage Kansas?
I think we got to get back to grinding. We got to get back to being tougher. I think that we have done so many things well over time, but the one thing that's probably stood out more than anything is there was an element of toughness that when it's a 2-point game and you're behind at the end of 4 timeout, it's like, okay, fellas, let's go have some fun. That to me, a 1 possession game, 2 minutes left. All right, guys. Hey, let's go play. Because so many games in big games are 1 possession games. Yeah. And you got to win those 1 possession games. And I think that's one thing that have done a great job of over time, but a crap job of here recently. So I think we got to get back to that.
Well, Bill, it's going to be a lot of fun to cover. Appreciate a couple minutes. Know how busy you are. Have a great rest of the summer. And as always, look forward to staying connected along the way.
Did you say a couple of minutes? God, I missed lunch. So, all right, we'll see you. See you, John.
You got it. That's Kansas head coach Bill Self. I'm Jon Rothstein, and this is Inside College Basketball Now on the CBS Sports Podcast Network.